Some cool stuff in the background here with me. So I wanted to get going here. Um, can everyone see my screen? I know I have a few people in here that they got a yes, awesome, perfect. So exactly what I needed to know. So as I said, I'm Matt Weiss. I'm the director of sales here. Been working here for 4 years. Um, been here since we started doing sales directly to customers. Prior to that, we've had quite a bit of experience installing for other companies in the area. So that's how we got our start here at Wells Solar. I want to start by showing you guys someone's power bill. And some of the things that I want to point out here are your monthly usage summary down there in the left. Now, this is a Reliant bill, and I saw the people who posted in here. I'm not so sure that we actually do have any Encore users here, but this is the bill from an Encore customer, so someone probably just north of Austin, from basically from Round Rock all the way up to DFW and even going all the way into Oklahoma. So these are a area where you can actually select your utility company from a lot of different other utility companies. But I want to point out something that's common amongst all bills in Texas. You're going to get your monthly usage summary. It may not be in that corner for Austin Energy and PEC, which are two of the air, and I think also with Blue Bonnet, which I saw someone was from Bastrop. Those are all going to be in the top left corner of your bill. But on every bill in Texas, you're going to find at least 3 months of energy use data. In a lot of cases, you're actually going to find a full 12 months. It's going to be a fairly hard to read bar graph because you're probably looking at something only a few inches large there that can have up to several thousand kilowatt hours of measurement in there. But and you're also going to see account summary that's going to show some of your typical charges. There's an underlined number here. This 0.047785 per kilowatt hour cost. So one thing you're going to see a lot in your utility companies is a power bill that may appear like your rate is lower than it actually is, because you'll also notice that this customer has Encore delivery charges, a base charge, and their total bill for 1,650 or 85 kilowatt hours is $151. So it's a lot closer to 10 cents rather than this 4.7 cents it may appear as. Um, no matter what utility company we're talking about, they all have some sort of charge like this that does not appear to be based on your usage, but it is in fact a price that changes with usage of kilowatt hours. So um, hopefully I'm not talking too foreign a language to you guys. What is a kilowatt hour? Something that a lot of people are probably asking. So a kilowatt hour is a measurement of energy. So basically, if you had, you know, 1,000 watt light bulbs, that would be 1,000 watts. If you turned those on for 1 hour, you'd get 1 kilowatt hour of energy used, right? So 1,000 watts for 1 hour, right? Kilo stands for 1,000. So the question is, how much are you charged per kilowatt hour? And that's what I was trying to point out there by having this bill up first, is that the energy charge and the delivery charges are both based on a per kilowatt hour charge. So some people might find that it looks like they are, using only a few kilowatt hours, or excuse me, using kilowatt hours at a lower cost, but then they notice their bill actually reflects a little bit higher number. So that's really what that boils down to. So you have to ask yourself, how many kilowatt hours do you use each month at your home? So you can look at your bill, should have 3 to 12 months worth of data, or the best place is always going to be by logging into the portal for your utility company. So no matter what utility company you're with, they should have an online portal, and you can go in and easily get 12 months of data. Oftentimes you can get way more than that. They'll have it in a nice interactive graph on their website, And you'll also be able to download each PDF file from any bill that you've paid. Of course, that depends on how long you've been in that house and how much data you have. So sizing solar for your home, a little quote here. I've used 900 kilowatt hours each month. How many solar panels do I need? So this is a question that we get from a lot of potential customers or people that are interested in finding out about solar is, what do I need for my house? What do I need for the square footage home that I'm going to build? Well, it really is dependent on the usage. Sometimes we see homes with a ton of usage in a tiny little home and vice versa. It depends on your usage patterns and the efficiency of your home. But a 900 kilowatt hours, someone might say, I've got an average of 900 kilowatt hours. Well, one really simple way to do it is to take your yearly usage and divide it by about 1.4. So if you took 900 times 12, that would get you, I believe, 10,080. And then you would divide that by 1.4. So let me do that real quick on my calculator for you guys. 900 times 12 equals 10,800. And then you'll take that number and you'll divide it by 1.4 to get kind of an idea on the amount of watts you would need. So on this system, a 7.7 kW or 7,700 watt system would cover their yearly usage. Solar production is based on a lot of things, though, whether it be the angle of your house or the season. Things change throughout the year, but due south is optimal since we're in the northern hemisphere, and as you go away from south, you can get lower and lower production. So we typically try to do things in between east and west. So here's kind of a nice big image for you guys. This is illustrating the fact that the sun in the summer is going to be more directly overhead versus in the winter, you're going to have a more southern arc to the sun. So we get a lot of customers that have us come out to their house and want to put solar on the north side of their house. That typically happens during the summer because the sun is going more or less directly overhead, and they may be seeing more sun on that front side of the house if that was the north side, for instance. Um, but in reality, throughout the year, we're going to have much more southern facing sun. So if you are to go outside today, you might see that the sun is somewhat south in the sky. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer to summer, so it's coming more and more up into this top arc that you're seeing here. But throughout the winter, you get that southern arc there. Um, and please remember, if anyone has any questions, feel free to pop into the chat. I'll try to get those answered. We don't have a ton of people on here, so we can get a little more in depth with questions with you guys. And by the way, I'm trying to keep this fairly quick. I know people are working at home hard and busy, so any further questions will be able to help you out privately. So sizing solar for your home. Once again, we're using that southern arc. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west, which you guys are probably aware of. But the angle of the sun changes in summer versus winter. So I covered a lot of this in that last slide, but I wanted to use that bigger image to kind of illustrate it. Here, as long as you're north of the equator, you're going to want your solar panels on the south side. Due south being the best, and anywhere in between east all the way up to northwest at a 300-degree angle is acceptable. So someone that we have on our team likes to always say, if you put a softball on the top of the section of the roof and whichever side it rolls down towards, that's the way that section of roof is facing. So in this little illustration right here, if I were to put a ball at the top, it would roll down to this edge that's facing south, right? Shading, this is something I put in here on this slide because I want people to be aware of things that are, off in the distance. Something that may not appear to cast any shade during the summer when the sun's coming directly overhead can sometimes cast shade in the winter. So oftentimes we might find a customer giving us a call in the middle of the summer and they've got a row of trees right here along the south side of their house. And in the summer, they're getting, great sunlight on that roof, no obstructions whatsoever. But through the winter, they're actually getting shaded pretty bad. So sometimes people can be a little bit surprised to hear that sort of stuff. Placement options for going solar. We're going to cover a few different things here: roof mount, ground mount, pergolas, and carports. So, um, some of you may have seen ads online for several different options. The big ad that I see online all the time is a pergola, which is a shade structure, and those are options that are viable. But I'll kind of explain why those can be problematic in Texas. But I wanted to include those in here because I know that that's imagery that's been shared a lot throughout the internet and definitely seems to capture people's attention. So I wanted to address it while I got you guys on this call here. So roof mount's going to be the most effective and, um, excuse me, not the most effective, the most efficient and cost effective for most customers. Uh, Most of the times we're able through roof mounted solar to be able to get a very financially feasible project for people. We'll normally find planes, especially here in Texas with our long amounts of sun throughout the day. We're able to find planes on people's homes that allow plenty of production in order to get what they need out of the solar panels and make it to where it's saving them money with the solar panels. Ground roof mounts are going to be most cost effective because we don't have to build a structure to put the solar panels on. It's already there for us. Both of these roofs here are standing seam roofs. A lot of times I get questions from customers with standing seam roofs asking, is this going to penetrate my expensive standing seam roof? Well, actually, standing seam is our favorite type of roof because it just clamps onto the seams and there are no penetrations into the roof. With shingle roofs, we do have to mount them into the shingles, into the rafters. Wells Solar does warranty that work for 25 years, so you don't have anything to worry about. Um, but shingle roofs are a great option for solar as well. Here's a few pictures of some panels mounted to some roofs. Another type of mount is a ground mount, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen. A lot of people are interested in this when they may have a nice big piece of property. They're not living in a neighborhood or something like that. I get a lot of questions about ground mounts in those situations. So ground mounts obviously allow us to put the solar panels facing in the best possible direction for production. But there is some added cost that comes along with that since we do have to build a structure on the ground. Effectively, the way that the panels mount to the ground mount is very similar to the way we mount them to the roof. So there is a little added cost when you have to build this structure here to mount the panels onto. And then one that I was telling you guys about, pergolas. This is something that is advertised a lot on the internet, so we do get a ton of customers asking us about this. One of the limiting factors here in Texas is that we often are unable to produce enough power with a pergola to really satisfy the customer's wants and needs. So on this particular image here, that's actually a pretty large pergola. You've got a total of 24 panels on here, which in Texas we use a lot of electricity, so that's oftentimes not going to cover as much as people would like it to. I mean, a 24 panel system is going to cover a good amount of electricity. Don't get me wrong, but they say everything's bigger here in Texas, and a lot of times people are getting asking us for systems in the 30 to 40 panel range typically, and that's normally going to cover your typical Texas home usage. Here's some more pergolas, just some nice images. This one's a bit of a carport here. These are things that we can do. We have a contractor we use to build this stuff, but as I said, these items are typically more for people who want the small aesthetic thing or just interested in putting some solar on their home. Um, just to give you guys an idea, we typically do around 1,000 installs a year, maybe 1 to 2 of these. It goes on to something like this. So pretty small percentage there. So talk about the utility rebate programs, buyback and net metering. Depending on the utility that you're in, there may be some upfront utilities rebates where the utility company cuts you a check for, say $2,000 or something like that. Um, these were much more common a few years ago, but unfortunately, a lot of the utility companies have expired their rebate programs and are no longer offering those. The good news is that solar has gotten to the cost where we don't really necessarily need those anymore to make them financially viable for customers. And there still is the government federal tax credit that's still available. But as far as utility programs go, most utilities in Texas offer a net metering program. Those that don't would be, maybe there's a few small little cities that still haven't picked them up, but everyone else has got a net metering program. If you didn't have a net metering program, we probably wouldn't have advertised to you, and you may, every once in a while one slips by, but for the most part, everyone that's on this, I'm confident, has a net metering program, which means that for every kilowatt hour you generate, your house uses it, and that's one less kilowatt hour that you buy from the utility company. Um, in some utility companies, they actually allow you to get a one-for-one credit for anything that you overproduce, and you can start creating a balance on your account. So if you are covering 100% of your power throughout the whole year, you are probably going to overproduce through a good amount of the year, and then you will start to actually use those credits throughout the summer, where almost everyone in Texas air conditioner is going to bring their bill up to over what the solar can produce. So in this particular customer's bill, you can see that they have a balance of $345 on their bill right now. They're getting credit to their account every month. They're not paying anything. And as summer rolls around, they'll probably start to use some of this credit. And ideally, throughout the year, they're going to have close to no bill. I don't ever want to promise no bill at all, because that's very hard to achieve. A lot of times you'd have to oversize the system by a considerable bit just to make sure that you're covering it if there's any sort of bad weather pattern or anything like that. Um, but just to cover something there, our estimates are made off of 10 years of weather data, so you get some averages. Typically we see about 5 to 10% more than what we estimate out of our production. um, so talking about production, if you produce 900 kilowatt hours in a month and you use 900 kilowatt hours in a month, you're going to get one for one for that. So that would be a no charge to you. There may still be a base charge depending on your utility, but they're going to cover all your usage-based charges. Um, I wrote in here overproduction, a check from the utility company. That's a big question that we get from a lot of our customers, and you can see this bill here with a negative $345 balance, pretty sizable balance there. Unfortunately, in Texas, no one will cut you a check for your utility bill. What you will get is a credit like this, and you can use that credit, but building up credits on your account will not result in a check from the utility bill, just to clarify that for people. If you want to get something like that, you need a large field filled with solar panels, um, quite a massive system in order to get into that ballpark. Um, Here's a little bit more up close detail of that. So you can see that they're getting basically charged for this energy charge here is basically saying that they used 901 kilowatt hours, and then they actually produced 1124 for this one. So they've got a $33.23 credit here, and their credit balance is $345. This is an awesome looking bill. We get customers like this calling us and bragging about it. I'm sure maybe some of you may have a friend that's gone solar and has told you, I got a negative bill, which definitely happens. We see it all the time. A lot of times it will be used up later in there, but I have seen customers who put just giant systems on there and rack up negative bills, and that's what makes them happy. So I'm happy to let them do that. We make sure they understand that long before they purchase a system like that. But I have one particular customer I can think of that bought a system that was, maybe oversized, and we were very clear about it to him. Called me up later and said, "I want to add another 30 panels to it. I don't care. I just want to generate power." And I explained it thoroughly to him, but he was adamant on having that big giant negative bill. Whatever floats your boat. So where do the batteries go? For those of you here, I'm gonna stop this share for a second so that you guys can see my screen. We've got a Tesla Powerwall right here that we have on display at our retail outlet out in Bastrop. We have a permanent location at Community Gardens if anyone's ever in that area. We have pulled this out for right now since they are kind of running on a reduced schedule over there. We thought it would be better used out on our presentations that we're doing here virtually. So going back on here, let me get this screen going again. All right. So the Tesla Powerwall, um, we are a certified Tesla installer, something that we're very proud of. We've been working with Tesla now since 2017 as a registered certified installer. We've seen these batteries go from several generations to what they have now, and we're really impressed with them. So, how do batteries work? The Tesla Powerwalls are very, very simple. Um, in the past, when we were putting batteries into people's houses, it was a lot of education and maintenance that went along with it, making sure that your deep cycle batteries had water in them, making sure that your controllers were all operating correctly. Those days are kind of long gone now. We have the Tesla Powerwall that plugs in and effectively works just as you would imagine it would. Power goes out, it automatically kicks on and provides seamless power to the home. It does provide backup power. We typically, depending on how many you get, we'll either wire it to where it only does a certain set of circuits so that you can have your refrigerator and lights or whatever you might want, and a real emergency backup. Other customers, like the one in this photo, they will put several of them together so that they can have whole home backup and be able to run their air conditioner, refrigerator, that sort of stuff. um, the batteries are awesome. They are finally getting down to an affordable cost, and anyone that's interested in putting that into their system can definitely get into a little more detail with us. There's still a little complication in sizing them. We've got to sit down with you, take a look at your power bill, kind of explain to you your usage and the capacity of each one of these power walls, and how long that will last with the items that you want to run off of it. Um, we've got some customers that have one. We've got some customers that have 5 of them. It's pretty easy to do up to 10 of them, and most of the installation cost goes into the first battery. So as you add batteries to it, it gets even more and more cost effective. So that's pretty cool about those. But like I said, nice and seamless. You get an app that's on your phone, and you also are able to have your house's backup power. I recently watched a video where some people went off grid with 3 Tesla Powerwalls. They also had Tesla cars, and they were living in their house very comfortably. Now, this was in Colorado with gas heat, so they weren't running any sort of heating or air conditioning. But they ran their house for 8 days, charged their cars, lived normally, didn't change any of their habits. The only thing that stopped them from having to turn back on the grid was a snowstorm came in and covered up the panels for 2 days, and eventually their batteries needed a charge. So that was pretty cool. Uh, that really impressed me to see some real world non Tesla supplied videos. So pretty happy to see those working like that. But another thing that we're doing right now, and we have a offer that's going through the end of this month, which happens to be today. So we're going to extend this offer to um, any webinar attendees up until Friday. So you'll have a little bit of time to get this. We're doing a free 10 kilowatt generator with all of our projects this month. Um, Obviously, this is not a Tesla Powerwall. It's a lot less expensive and it provides similar amounts of backup. This is something that you have to wheel out to your electric panel and plug into a plug that we install on the side of your house. But this is a great option for those that are concerned with backup power, making sure that you have that power. You may be asking, well, don't the solar panels work? In order to keep the solar panels functioning when the grid is down, you do actually have to have battery backup. But this talks about battery backup here on this little slide I had, because we actually have a backup power supply, or a backup, solar panels, Powerwall, and generator program. And we can do that program for as little as $95 a month. That's just a little bit of solar, enough to charge the Powerwall and put solar on your roof, as well as the generator. But we can obviously customize that system. But 8 panels, a generator, and a Powerwall starts at $95 per month. So pretty affordable for people who are interested in getting a package like that. That's more of a backup power specific package that we've got. So finance programs that are available in Texas, you can trade your power bill for solar savings, is kind of the term that gets thrown around a lot. So the simple way to put it is, we can typically take a amount off your bill monthly that is higher than the payment towards the solar system. So if you were to finance a system with one of our special programs, you'll be able to save $100 off your power bill every month and pay $85 a month to the program, right? So you can start saving money immediately with no money out of your pocket. These are all zero down programs, unless you want to purchase it outright, which obviously a lot of people do. But the options are low interest rate programs, all the way down to 0% interest, depending on what length term you want and how well you qualify. But pretty much everyone gets a 2.99 or lower. So not and just to clarify with y'all, if you get approved, you can choose the program with the interest rates. There's not like your credit gets you this interest rate. It's typically just based off of the program that you want. And the other option is a power purchase agreement. There's a PPA, solar PPA in there that we have on these slides. What that means is another term for that might be third party ownership, where a company pays us to install this, and then you basically get a free solar system on top of your house, but you have to pay for the power that comes off of it. Now, this is only available in the Encore market. So if you're with PEC or Bluebonnet or Austin Energy, unfortunately, you wouldn't qualify for that program. But it's a cool way for people to take advantage of some incentives, even if they don't qualify for them. So essentially, we're trading a power bill. Here's some graphics to kind of explain what I'm talking about. So you can see here's your old electric bill on the left there, and then you might have a solar payment to the program that's lower, kind of your $100 here, your $85 and $15 in your pocket. But that $15 is going to go up quite a bit. Rates typically go up anywhere between 3 to 5% here in Texas. So if you start compounding, let's say 4% on your $100, it gets pretty crazy pretty fast. I will just real simply take $100, compound it at 4% interest for 25 years. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Can go all the way up to $266 in year 25. So, your payment will only last depending on the length of the term, and then you're done with that, but your savings will continue to go up. So $100 off your bill today could be $266 off your bill in the future. So that's something that I think a lot of people aren't really thinking about when they're looking at solar, is they're just kind of looking at what's today's numbers, right? But in reality, utility rates continue to go up. In the Encore market, sometimes we see them shoot up by far more than 4%. In fact, when I started doing this, typically saw people in the Encore market in the 8 to 9 cent range. We've seen bills as high as 20 cents per kilowatt hour recently, but most people are now in the 13 to 15 range. So you can do the math on that. That's actually quite a bit more than 4% for 4 years. So it just depends. You may have a kind of a flat for a while and then it shoots up a lot. So it's on average, right? Here's some more graphics kind of showing you that. This uses 17-cent kilowatt hour there. Your utility bill with solar. This is talking about a lease payment or a PPA. So it's a graphic showing that. The last one's more like your loan option. One deal with the PPA is that rate you're paying per kilowatt hour to the third party owner does actually go up slightly each year, typically around 1%. So it's a slower increase, but they do have an escalator built into that. The idea is that it increases slower than your utility rate will, and also the only way we can get those installed is if the rate that you pay in day one is lower than what you're currently paying for electricity. Getting into a little more detail here, sizing your solar for future home improvements. A lot of people want to do swimming pools. They might want to replace a gas water heater with an electric one, or on demand, plug-in hybrids and electric cars. These are all things that are becoming more and more popular, especially electric cars, obviously. Know several of my friends that have these now. It seems like more and more are getting them. They're, a real viable option now. Tesla's got some low cost options, or I guess not super low cost, but affordable, and other car manufacturers are following suit. So sizing your home for that, we have software. Go back a slide here. We have software that actually takes into account all of this. So we would probably be looking at that in a little more detail with you guys individually if that's something you're planning on doing. But we do have the capability to forecast that into our bill. So just want to let you guys know that. Electric car best practices: if you're driving 20 miles a day, you're using about 150 kilowatt hours each month, which is fairly low amount. That is something that you might start to notice, though. That's going to be $15 on your bill, right? So some people might drive their car a lot more than that. So we've seen some electric car users who may drive their car 100 miles a day, and then it starts to really add up. We've seen situations where people are doubling their power bill by adding an electric car. And don't get me wrong, it's still cheaper than going to the pump and putting gas in your car, but it may come as a bit of a surprise to some people when they purchase electric cars. We've got a particular buddy of some of the people that work here who bought an electric car and sent us his bills, and his you see his bar graph and it's just like boom, jumps up like double when he got that electric car. So pretty interesting stuff there. I want to thank you guys for your time. We're available right now, as well as all the way until 8 p.m. today, for virtual conferences or consultations. I keep saying conferences, but consultations is the word I'm looking for. We have some energy consultants that are available to hop on. I think we'll be sending out a email here shortly, letting you guys know that we or asking for your power bills if you'd like a little bit more in-depth look at it. But I do have a few people available right now that can hop on a video conference like this with you guys if anyone's interested. So please reach out to us. We'll send an email out here hopefully within the next few minutes. Does anyone have any questions? You can type them into the chat box there. Looks like we've answered everyone's questions, so that's great. I'm glad we can be informative for you guys. We'll be conducting these a little bit more regularly now. So someone said thank you. I appreciate that. It's something that we like to do, help people out. This is going to be a little new format for us, so you may get emails about future more in detail webinars. This one was meant to be a very basic outline, maybe kind of get you started down looking at your bill with a little more education under your belt, if you will, and help you guys understand the process a little bit, since many of you homeowners may be completely in the dark and really wondering what do you tilt installations on the back of the house? Okay, great question. That's from PJ here. So yes, we can do tilted installations. That's actually something we do fairly often. The only limitation there is going to be sometimes, well, not sometimes, but if you've got a roof like this, let me stop my share so you can see. You might be able to see me a little bit better here. If you've got a roof that's well tilted and we've got panels down it like that, we can fit a lot more than if they're angled up, because we're going to have to space them out to where they don't shade each other. So some of it can be dependent on the tilt of your roof. So if you are if the pitch of your roof is mild, that works a little bit better. But yes, we can do that. So if the front of your house is south facing and you're trying to avoid installing there, we can do that. We can also potentially use the sides of the house and other stuff too. So I invite you to send in your bill when we send out this email, and we can get you something with a little more detail. We can even show that to you through our software and everything. Any other questions? It looks like maybe a few more people have hopped on since we got started. So if anyone has any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. So you're asking, so PJ is asking, can the Tesla battery be used ongoing other than backup? So um, yes, you can use the Tesla Powerwall as, there are people who are using it to, power their homes and, run quote unquote off grid. Right now, we really don't recommend people in Texas try to go completely off grid. That's pretty limiting, especially when you want to run air conditioning. Even though we might be able to, cover the total kilowatt hours that you use in a day, there can be cloudy days and other stuff like that where, the battery can be a bit limiting. Not limiting, I guess is not really the right term there, but if you have multiple days of clouds and you're, running off the battery only, obviously we might run say draw on it at night. Yeah, so that we can definitely do. A lot of people use them that way, where there's just, in Texas we don't really have time of use patterns, although I think that may be coming shortly. But in California, where a lot of this technology is being developed, you might have someone that runs their house at night off of the power wall to avoid higher charges for electricity at night. But in Texas, there's very few utilities that have time of use patterns. In fact, the only ones that I know of are Austin Energy and PEC, but they are just one neighborhood for each one of those utilities that has like a pilot program. And that was several years ago, so I'm not 100% sure that even still exists. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we could answer your questions, PJ. The power walls are really cool. You know, guys, I've been, we've been trying to be as safe as we can while, doing our work here. And I haven't been in the office in a few weeks, and I came in here since I knew no one else was here, and wanted to give you guys this cool background here. I just went into the warehouse, and we had about 15 power walls last time I looked in there, and there's none of them left. So a lot of people are putting those in, and we typically see most homeowners in Texas doing 2 power walls, just so everyone knows. That normally typically gives you enough power to really run off grid, especially if you are careful with your air conditioner. So a lot of customers who work from home really like the idea of the power wall, um, so they can make sure that they're able to stay connected even in a power outage or something like that. So great. Well, if anyone else has any more questions, I'll hang out here for a few more minutes. I will, this is also just to clarify for you guys, this is recorded so we can send this out to people afterwards if you guys are interested. I'm working on this with a partner of mine, Michael Chance, who works with me here at Wells Solar. So he may be sending you guys some emails offering to get batteries, or excuse me, not batteries. I'm reading the chat there. Offer up to get your more in-depth analysis of your power bills. So um, if you guys are sending power bills, if you need to take a picture, both sides is best, or if you can download the PDF, that would be great. All right, awesome, guys. Well, I think I'm going to wrap this up, and we will be reaching out to you via email. So please, you know, don't hesitate to talk to us. We've been here in Central Texas, well, in all of Texas now, but we founded officially in 2014, but we've been doing installs since around 2009. That's when we got our licenses to operate under our own name, and you have to have 6 years of experience to get that license. So we've been around for a long time in Central Texas, done something around 5,000 installs throughout all of Texas. Worked on a lot of big projects in the area that you might have seen as you're driving down the highway, and are going to be working on more of those in the coming months. So we've been a big part of Texas. Most of us here are born and raised and proud of it. So we want to help other Texans, harness this great hot sun that we got. So take advantage of it while it's there, right? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.